Hello and welcome to the latest instalment of MFS's Let's Talk Property podcast, where we connect with industry experts to explore an array of topics within the dynamic world of property. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to take a moment to share a quick disclaimer. MFS are a bridging loan and buy-to-let mortgage provider and are not financial advisors. The opinions and views expressed in this episode are personal to the host and the guest and may not reflect the views of MFS. For more information on MFS, you can find us at www.mfsuk.com. Be sure to keep up with our podcast updates on Instagram at MFS_LTP. Now, let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Let's Talk Property podcast with MFS. I'm Karen Rodrigues, Head of Sales here at Market Financial Solutions, and I'm here with our very own Leah Brunskill, our guru of all things marketing, otherwise known as our Head of Marketing. We're going to talk through some marketing in the property finance. So Leah, thank you for joining me. Let's dive right in if we can.
Amazing, yeah, thanks for having me.
Good. So marketing in property finance can be quite difficult as a target audience in limiting the marketing for B2B versus B2C. So especially when you're trying to appeal to individual brokers, what are some of the ways that you work to make sure that everything you do is creative in that space?
I think it is about being as creative as possible and understanding that whilst it is B2B, you are still talking to people. People enjoy creativity, they like seeing different things, they are drawn to different things. So I think it's just remembering that, yes, while they are in a workspace, while brokers are in a workspace, they are thinking about work. In fact, they're probably thinking about work even when they're not in a workspace. But they are still people. And so finding creativity that reaches out to individuals and on an individual level and is interesting to look at, so really pulling in that creativity is kind of where we change things a little bit, I think, from potentially other lenders out there and things like that. Other lenders obviously do similar things really, really well, and I've seen it move on quite a bit over the last kind of 5 years that I've been at MFS. But yeah, just remembering they're still people. Whilst it's B2B, you're still talking to individuals.
So talk to me about how you built a marketing team from scratch.
Okay, so when I joined MFS 5 years ago, it was myself, our executive director, and a marketing assistant, and that was kind of great at the time. I think marketing in the whole specialist lender space was pretty small or non-existent at the time. So I sort of came in and got to grips with all of the initial stuff first. So email marketing, all of the stuff that you want to do before you start getting creative and doing big campaigns and things like that. And then just basically looked at what I needed first. So it became pretty clear pretty quickly that actually having an in-house graphic designer was going to be really important to be able to get us to progress with like our white papers and things. That's a big thing that's really important to us. And from there it was just seeing where we needed resource and growing. Obviously we've got quite a big team now, so I think there's 9 of us who I'm sure everybody will see out and about at various events. And yeah, it's great. It just means that we can do more and more and more all the time, and having people that have specialisms in their individual areas just means that we can be really good at lots of different things and kind of scale output and all that good stuff. It's been a journey. It's been 5 years in the making, but I think we've got a really good team now. Yeah.
Fantastic. So 14% of all digital marketing comes from obviously financial services or financial industries as a whole. So why do you think marketing plays such a big part in those industries?
I think it comes down to where people want to do research, right? So, if you want to buy a pair of trousers, generally you'll have something in mind of what you want to buy. You sort of go, okay, I need a pair of jeans for the weekend, and therefore I'm going to look at places that do jeans like ASOS or other things. I think what happens when individuals are searching for finance, they don't know what they want, and so marketing really needs to narrow down what they're looking for. You kind of need to know what they need before they know what they need, and that's where digital marketing comes in, because when people are searching for things such as lowest mortgage rates, then you need to be able to tackle those. You need to get to those people either as a broker or as a lender, if lenders do direct, and kind of answer their questions with your website without it being too technical, without thinking that they're going to know exactly what they need to be asking for. So I think that's why digital marketing comes in well, because you can look at those keywords and you can kind of make them fit, and you can, you know, get them on social and things like that. And I think, you know, digital is the way it's going. Everything is digital now, even traditional media. Generally, you will get a print version, but you'll also then get an online version of that print magazine or whatever. So I think that's probably why marketing is so important, and especially digital marketing for financial products.
Okay, and in what way do you think property finance marketing differs from, you know, those tangible goods?
In an obvious way, you know, tangible goods, you know what you're getting. You can see a picture of it. You can look at it and go, okay, cool, I'm getting that pair of jeans. And so you don't necessarily need to know the background behind said jeans unless you're then interested. I mean, obviously there is a little bit of a kind of growth of people wanting to like know where their clothes have come from and make sure the companies that they're working with are doing the right things for the planet and things like that. But ultimately, if you want a pair of jeans, you find a pair of jeans, you get the pair of jeans and they arrive. I think the difference with, you know, a non-tangible product is the fact that you can't see it, and therefore if you're going to go to somebody, you need to understand what it is that they offer. You need to trust them, because they're not just saying they're going to ship one thing to you and you receive it and that's great, transaction over. It becomes about trust. It becomes about understanding who you're working with, what they can do for you, where you go when you need to solve a problem and things like that, especially in specialist finance as well. You know, a broker doesn't necessarily need to know the ins and outs of our entire product. They just need to know that they can pick up the phone, they can call us, and we'll either say no really quickly so they can be on their way and finding something else, or that we're going to say yes, and actually we can structure it in this way, and we can help with this thing, and we can defer interest, which will help over here, and all that sort of stuff. So it's more of it's about collaboration as opposed to just selling. And that's what you're trying to get across in marketing, is that actually you can kind of trust us to help you where you need help. And if you've got questions, we're here to answer them. And if we can't, we'll kind of say really quickly so that you can move on.
So we're seeing a lot of hyper-personalisation. So what's your view on this?
I think it's kind of interesting because I don't mind personalisation. I don't mind personalised ads when I receive them, because ultimately I've looked for something, and you know, being reserved those ads is great, because then it allows me to make more decisions, or make decisions quickly, or go, actually, I do want to buy that thing. I mean, ultimately, people are trying to get you to buy, right? And again, easier with tangible goods because you can reserve products that you've already looked at. Hyper-personalisation, I think some of it is probably still a little bit too early, and people need to... There's an element of trust there, right? So interestingly, I was talking to my mum about it a couple of days ago, and she had, we got her a holiday. Me and my sister got her a holiday for her 50th. Yeah. And we basically said, we can go wherever you want, and this is the pot of money. She was quite shocked because me and my sister don't save. But here's a pot of money.
Well
yeah, it was great actually. Here's a pot of money. We can go wherever you want. And so she's been looking at holidays pretty religiously since then. Still hasn't made a decision, but that's, you know, by the by. So she was on a website and she was looking at, I think, like a Nile cruise or something, I can't remember. Yeah. And within about half an hour, they'd called her and said, we noticed you were checking out the cruise. Do you want to have some more information on it? And now obviously she has previously put her details in there. She's probably, you know, consented to the cookies. Yeah. She's downloaded a brochure. But they've noticed that she's come back. And so now they are hyper-personalising by calling her and saying, do you want more information? Now my reaction to that is, that's really useful, because actually had I had questions, I'd have been able to say on the phone, well, actually I was looking at it, but I don't know about, you know, X excursion or blah, blah, blah. But her reaction was that she didn't mind particularly, but that it was just a little bit intrusive. Yeah, because actually then the phone call, based on her activity, was a bit of a shock because she wasn't expecting it. Yeah. And so I think that's where hyper-personalisation can be a little bit, not scary, but you need to really know a company, I think, because you've given them your details, so you're happy with that. But a phone call over an email is probably initially quite a lot. Yeah. So yeah, I just think the way that you kind of go about doing it can be structured so that people they don't feel too overwhelmed by, you know, I know exactly what you're doing, and I know exactly which holiday you're looking at, and I know exactly what you need, and actually let's have a conversation about it right now because I've rung you. But also, ultimately it's helpful for the person searching, and it's obviously from a marketing perspective more likely to get them to transact and convert and all those things. So from a marketing perspective, it's obviously great, and what we can do with real-time data now is kind of insane. But I think it's doing it in the right way for the end customer that marketers really need to think about. I don't think they should just think about what they can achieve with it. I think it's understanding the different types of customer and how they're going to see that.
I think there's still that generational thing as well, isn't there? So, you know, it's very much a little bit of Big Brother is watching.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, how my mum would actually view it as well. It's like, you're stalking me,
yeah, exactly.
kind of thing.
Leave
so
me
it's
alone.
one of
I'll
those.
make a decision when I make a decision. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like you to try and convince my mother to buy something on a telephone call. But yeah, I kind of get it. So I get it. But it's an interesting one. Whereas, my two sons would be exactly the same. They're like, no, it's fine. Yeah. You know, they're targeting me based on my history and what I'm doing and my interests. So I kind of get it.
But it's great. I think the other thing where, you know, brands need to be careful is things like Netflix. So I've seen this recently where, you watch something for 10 minutes and you go, this is awful, I don't want to watch this.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah. Where they've kind of had to add that in because then it just goes on your continue watching and then it just sat there forever. And now you can actually get rid of it, I think. Somebody said that you can. But that was a big part of like the hyper-personalisation that actually doesn't really work properly and is actually just quite annoying. So yeah, I think it's a bit of a minefield. It's obviously really exciting and data is kind of king, right? So, but you just have to do the right things with that data.
So how do you ensure that we here at MFS reach our target audiences?
It just comes down to understanding where they go. Obviously events are big in our space. So, brokers that are potentially looking to get into specialist finance or, have been in it for many years, to be fair, they will go to events when they need more information or if they've got some time or they really want to branch out and kind of diversify with what they're offering their customers. And so being in those places is really important for us. We do a lot of events here at MFS. As well as our own, just to kind of have that face-to-face discussion. I think, especially in specialist finance, you're not just picking a product off the shelf necessarily, so actually having a conversation about it is really useful. And then obviously the normal ones, trade press and things like that. But we also try and do a little bit around, a lot around education as well, so that we're truly trying to provide value. Just figuring out where brokers are getting their information from, where they're going, and making sure we're there.
Good, and a nice segue into the next question, which I've got, which actually is about education. So, obviously we always focus on educational content, and there's lots of it on our website. But how important do you think that obviously thought leadership is in regards to that too?
I think it's really important. I think ultimately thought leadership is pulling together different sources of information and putting them into something that really explains a topic or what's going on in the market or brings a couple of different ideas. And I think what people are looking for is, especially at the moment where there's so much in the news, there's so much news all the time, they want things to be kind of broken down into those topics that they can go in and go, okay, I understand everything about that now. Okay, I now understand, especially for clients, I now understand what a bridging loan is, and I didn't before. So it's kind of pulling all of that in together. But I think education in general is just really important. Again, especially where brokers who were potentially mainstream residential are moving into specialist finance, how do you do that? There are now courses out there, and I think that's great because what's the saying, a rising tide lifts all boats or something like that. And that's kind of what we try and do with education is we're not trying to just serve the industry, we're trying to improve it for everyone. And that is from, educating brokers on our products, but also educating new brokers on specialist finance, letting people know how we do things versus other lenders or what the standard is, down to different property types and, what an HMO is, so that a broker could potentially, so we will, for example, like joint brand, a guide, for example, or a thought leadership piece, and then brokers can go out to their clients and go, well, here's everything on HMOs, or here's everything on student lets, and can kind of pull that information into one place. So yeah, not just educating brokers, it's helping brokers to educate their end client as well, because obviously everybody's got limited time, and if they can just pluck a guide off a website and kind of go through that with their clients, I think that's always useful. We get pretty good feedback, so the guide's massively popular. So I think we've got 7 or 8 now, might even be more, but mainly around property types, although we do have one on like bridging finance, one on buy-to-let mortgages, and then, you know, student lets, as I said. And we've also got CPD courses as well.
I wondered if the plug was going to come in for the CPD. Absolutely, fantastic.
Yeah, I can't not mention it. So we became CPD accredited recently, and we've got 5 courses currently on the website. Again, based on property type for now, although we will branch out into other things. And brokers can get actual CPD time booked with a certificate once the questions are answered and the test is passed. So
you've put a test in it. Oh, love it.
You have to get the certificate, you see. Otherwise
can't make it easy.
No, exactly.
Good.
But yeah, that's been great because I think, you know, that's then helping people stay up with their CPD hours, which is actually more difficult, I think, than lots of people realise.
Yeah.
As brokers will well know, you know, is it like 36 hours or something that you have to do, and that's quite a lot of time.
Yeah.
So if you can pick up an hour and a half over 5 courses that you find on a website, it's kind of great. So that's been really popular. Again, the guides have been really popular. We have a weekly blog, and it's all kind of pulls together to give as much information about the market that people can pick through as people want, really. And then we've got our research reports as well, so we do those quarterly, and that is quant research that we commission, so that we're getting real stats from the market in real time as well. Yeah, we did one on gazumping, that was our last one, and the feedback that we had on that was insane. I mean, it was everywhere across the trade press, which is great. I mean, gazumping's not ideal, obviously, for people, but the fact that the report went really down really well, so we try and do as much on the current market as we can, so that it can be utilised.
Fantastic, thank you. And we're coming towards the end of our episode. You'll be pleased to know I won't grill you for too much longer.
I feel like I've spoken a lot.
I know, which is great. There's a lot of good stuff in there, which is fantastic. So one of the things we like to do is a quick fire round. So for our listeners out there, so what are the 3 qualities that you think make somebody a successful marketeer in our industry? No pressure.
Yeah, so I think this wouldn't necessarily just be marketers or people in our industry, to be fair. It's kind of what I think makes you successful. It would be to be adaptable.
Okay.
That especially in our industry, especially at the moment with everything going on, you need to be able to adapt really, really quickly to what's going on around you, to product changes, to rate changes, all of that stuff. And I think, you know, what was a priority yesterday or this morning might not be a priority by 5 p.m. So I think being able to adapt and do it as quickly as possible with minimal fuss is really important. And then the second would be the ability to prioritize, because I think if you try and do too much, especially where brokers especially might just be them, or they might have a very small marketing team, maybe just one person, or they might outsource it, and actually it can become really overwhelming really quickly because you can't do everything. So being able to prioritize based on what you're going to see the best results from, I would say helps to be a marketer. And then this is for everything really. Just be organised. You have to be organised, otherwise you won't get anything done. And I think that's just in life, as opposed to being a marketer in our industry. I think it's just, if you can be organised, then your output's going to be higher. So that's kind of a key quality, I would say.
Good. Thank you ever so much. So I just want to say thank you for coming on, and I also want to say congrats on your nomination. So, Leah has been shortlisted for a Women's Recognition Award for marketing, so well done you. That's massively proud, and fingers, toes and everything crossed for success on the night, but, well done you. It's been great talking to you. We don't do it often enough, to be fair, so it has been good. So if any of our listeners have any questions or queries for MFS marketing team, how can they get in touch with you?
We have lots of avenues to get in touch with the entire team. So if you need marketing specifically, then you can just send us a live chat on the website. You can send us an email on the main info@mfsuk.com. You can call us, and we're all over LinkedIn as well. So that's just my name on LinkedIn if you want to connect. Otherwise, go and read the guides. Do the CPD courses.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Leah. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate and share it. You can access our previous episodes in all the usual places, as well as on our website at www.mfsuk.com/podcast. You can also stay connected with us on Instagram at mfs_LTP. See you next time.